In the depths of the net, where the dark things hide, a cipher's whisper cuts the tide. A phantom walks with keys in hand, on the razor's edge, across the digital sand. No tux or martini, just a terminal's glow. The secrets of nations are the code they know. Through firewalls and shadows, where dangers align, they're the last line of defense on T2's design. They're the guardian of the grid, the one unseen, a warrior of the byte, swift and keen. With T2 Linux, the power they wield against the chaos, they're the unbroken shield. From the shadows they strike, a specter of light, InfoSec's agent, defender of the night. Encrypted whispers, the enemy's schemes, they decode the nightmares, protect the dreams. A silent hero, no fame, no face. In the code's dark alleys, they found their place. No gadgets or glamour, just skill in their hands. A fortress of logic, built on shifting sands. Through exploits and 0 days, their war is fought. The future's their mission, the world they've caught.
Welcome everyone. I tell you, simultaneously live streaming to YouTube and Twitch twice as a headache and stress, and now because I didn't restart. The YouTube title is wrong. Anyway, welcome to Twitch, welcome to YouTube. Some long overdue discussion. I made a video a year ago or so about fair licensing, because let's discuss basically open panel discussion and comments in this 1 hour keynote live stream. Welcome. Because the problem is financing of open source, right? We're not the first to struggle. You can hear the reads of history. I will not just one-to-one repeat here the history of open source. Most of you know the things of, in the early days, expensive mainframe hardware things, vacuum tubes and stuff. Computers usually became the software, even compilers and stuff for fixing stuff at home. And then in the 70s, stuff became more commercial Unix, commercial Windows. And then the Free Software Foundation and other people's antidote of free and open software. The problem is, of course, financing, right? You make software, you can just use it, everything is so far so good. Also took a years initially, the big business like Microsoft, certainly the Unix vendors, basically everyone hated open source and cursed open source because it took, they thought, revenue away. And certainly that also, of course, was a bit of a case. However, then, except after all the Unix companies were bankrupt or brought out, companies started to embrace it, right? Apple, Microsoft, even these days, not only Windows subsystem for Linux, but also compiler, right? All the others, NVIDIA, AMD for their LLVM-based 3D stack, but certainly not only all the Linux distributions, but even the BigTech, Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix, Facebook, and whatever is the latest and greatest. And so first they hated that, and now they love the free labor, right? The big business, the big tech, managed to turn around the open source movement and make it a cheap, basically free slave labor force for them. We're not the first, actually. I should have opened here more, a little bit in a rush between meetings and stuff today. You have seen this previously, right? Log4j, huge industry impact, all banking and finance and whatnot. OpenSSL, actually also wanted to open Blender, Foundation, things of the 3D company, previously a company. So even the now big AAA 3D modeling thing, previously a company, right? For those who didn't know, that previously was a company that went bankrupt. Here's Foundation, where's the predecessor, somewhere, even 31. Where's the company? What was the company name? Because it's only a foundation, because they went bankrupt long time ago. So where do you have have that. Initial release, 1994. Tom Rosendahl. And initial, maybe fair to say, whatever. Bank, well, whatever, you get the idea. They made it a foundation. So for us, for example, so basically, no matter how it's licensed, BSD or even GPL, because GPL software you can just use server side, and not to mention if it's LGPL and stuff. Basically, the question is, we have been there, we have learned the hard way. And the usual thing is, if you ask the internet how to make money with open source, usually the usual recommendations previously were like sell documentation, like books, like that in the name, like you could tell the 30 years ago, but certainly in the day of internet and online documentation, nobody's really going to pay for books or online documentation. Support and services. The problem that also didn't work the best, right? Look at most, including the Blender company, and everything in between, or even Firefox. And the problem with that is, I always say, either you make good software, then you don't really need much support. So like a good browser, whatnot, like who's also paying for documentation or support for browser like Firefox, right? And this is software, either you make good software, then you need no documentation and support, or you make bad software that you need documentation and support, but then also nobody wants to use your software, right? So you can't intentionally make your software like less usable than Windows and macOS, and just like, we need to make the software so bad so that we sell documentation and support. That certainly doesn't work out. I said years ago I discovered FAIR licenses that was relatively new, because I struggled with this, of course, already for quite a while. Between all the 24 plus software licenses, MIT, BSD, various BSDs, APL, and so on, right? GPL, 2, AGPL, and so on. And also, before you say just AGPL, for also better caching and services. Speaking of AGPL, there was also recently this WordPress drama, right? Not sure how this turned out. Basically, whatever of some hosting thing of like, we're not making too much money or whatever. I forgot, too long, didn't read, forgot the details. But basically for us, so as a concrete example, we can talk and hypothetical, philosophically discuss here around. In concrete, and also I should say, theoretically, the Linux Foundation, with their nearly around about 300 million of funding, theoretically the very rich foundations like the Linux Foundation even have theoretically a solution for that, basically the money, but all they do is finance random bullshit, right? So like, actually we should be professionals, we should show you that. So here's all the decentralized build of trust of 900. They support 900 things, but like they support all things not Linux, so like 3% Linux kernel. Amazing. I would say instead of, sure, it's their corporate money laundering scheme here of all those member companies. That is my interpretation of this. But maybe some variants even. Why is this? Oh, now it's loading. It's loading so slowly. Are we even freaking live? If it's loading so slowly, zero frames, that is amazing. So like, all those companies like, would finance our own in-house projects. In concrete examples, of course, so what is the problem? The problem is hundreds, thousands, if not millions of people. I mean, given from my most viral video, where 1.6 million people watched me write a Linux kernel driver in 3 hours and are coming away significantly impressed. I would say millions of developers in the meantime, right? And welcome everyone. So of course, if people make this as a hobby, there is no problem, right? But the thing is, all the good and sophisticated software is mostly written by professionals who otherwise earn 100, 200, 300,000 a year easily at Apple or Microsoft or other medium, small business, right? And so the question is, so nobody else, like imagine a lawyer, no lawyer. I mean, that's the kind of stuff also, like I give so much away for free. Do you think a lawyer, like when I'm getting swatted, do you think any lawyer want to give me consultation for free? Like, hey, I'm a poor open source developer, so what? Do you think any accountants, like, but you love to code, so like, if you love to code, what's the problem? Lawyers also like law, and accountants also like numbers and accounting, right? Strangely, no lawyer lawyer and accountant gives me services for free. Neither does me my car repairman, which I don't have because I repair my car myself, but otherwise other things, right? Like no electrician does fix your electric things just because he loves electrons and wires, right? Strangely, the craziest thing is the most highly educated job thing here, workforce. I mean, of course, not all. There are a couple of open source programmers, and that's the thing, right? It's not like not all programmers give all this stuff away for free. Like no, maybe 90% just 90% working at Apple, Facebook and stuff, Google, Microsoft, they cash in 200 plus, probably average 200,000 or more a year. So there are those who make good money and those who are too stupid, who are not business centered. The other 10% or whatnot are so stupid to give all the good code away for free just to trickle up to the management, to BigTech and the hundred millions of bonuses and salaries of the CEOs and startups. And that somehow is an extreme disbalance that bugs me already for 20 years and is getting increasingly crazy every year. And as a concrete example, like in our case, if we now move on, like we say, okay, T2 Linux, our increasingly amazing Linux distribution, except where stuff is significantly broken upstream. Sorry for that, you're not getting 3D for Big Onion anymore, previous video. But let's say, okay, our T2 Linux is mostly feature complete, it's amazing, we don't make much money except your Patreon and go buy me coffee. And YouTube subscriptions, that is amazing. So we can at least pay our electricity bill, that is amazing, and occasionally a new microphone or so. But like how to make a living, right? Like if we now say, okay, the Linux kernel, we're not satisfied, the 3D stack is also not amazing and they delete faster than we can fix stuff. And somehow everything like other equals, like we have ideas, we have visions. Let's say the next big thing, the next step. Sure, like we could either use startup, but then we're not like free software making the world better or whatnot. Like basically caching and startup stuff, not really an open source business anymore. And try to make money with like being next 2.0, Apple 2.0, basically Pear, Banana and Mango Pi OS thing, whatever. But if we say, okay, we don't want to, also it's a lottery, right? It's not like you apply to financing, you find some founder, you find some financing, you find some venture capital, and like, so that is lottery, right? And you for every business plan you write, like, most are not accepted. Like, so usually only they accept the most bullshit anyway. Like Facebook, who wants a Facebook web gallery thing? Like, what a bloody crazy. The other thing is venture capital also do not like funding-based technology like operating systems and compilers. And let's say we want to do some amazing programming language or some operating system, or even let's say we want to, like if you say, yeah, this is old-fashioned stuff. Let's say we want to do an amazing AI thing. Or like a browser because Google is being Google and Firefox is nearly bankrupt. Whatever, you want to do something, right? So why should it be like every other normal job? You build a car, you sell it. You grow groceries, you sell it. You do stuff, you get money. Only in open source, you do stuff and you get nothing. And not even to mention, worst of all, people write you emails and want support for free, and then if it's like, hey, I do this stuff for free already, like maybe you pay me $10. Why? How dare you ask me for $10? Okay, fine. Why is it that we do not do more fair licensing? Like I questioned in the video that this is basically I want feedback, right? So fair licensing is like we don't license the stuff by hypothetical, right? And we can also not just switch our T2 Linux because this is all BSD, MIT, GPL and stuff licensed. So this would be for new things. Let's say we write a new microkernel, a new AI, say, okay, you know what, but at the end of the day, it would also be nice to get some money. And when people like Richard Stallman and Eric S. Raymond and all the copyleft and open source people say about all the source, you know what, we can even give all the sources away, right? I'm not saying going old-fashioned closed source, which obviously sucks, right? Who would want to run Windows and then you have all the bugs and you can't debug them? And say, okay, fully open source, but fair license, right? There are some models, there are some people who tried this out. Like, why is this not more of a thing? Why do we all programmers and IT people, why do we all let ourselves be so ripped off? trickle up effect down all the investor money to all the Thiels, Peter Thiels, Elon Musk's, Mark Zuckerberg. Like, why do we allow ourselves? Like, why do the most clever people? Because because we want to make the world better. We want to make the world better. So there are some things going on there. I hope sometimes now I have so many windows need to check. Thanks for all the subscriptions and stuff. That is amazing. I highly appreciate this. And speaking of focus here, so why do we allow, like, how is it, and I also was brainwashed, right? When after DOS, like I didn't even grow up with open source. I said this before, I grew up with DOS, I grew up with all the Microsoft stuff, basically DOS, because there was nothing else, basically Windows 3, and then Windows 95 was so bad we switched to Windows, to Linux, sorry, we switched to Linux. But basically I grew up with this Microsoft stuff, which I fled away due to all the bugs. And have you seen how crappy the APIs were of DOS in Windows 3.1? Yes, it's a little bit better now, but still Windows 32. How is it that we all got brainwashed, including myself included? I did 25 years open source. I forgo $1 million of profit and salary, and yet we allowed all the richest big tech people to become richer. I understand this love affair of making the world a better place, but maybe 30, 40 years later, actually Free Software Foundation, 1983 or so, basically quite precisely 41 years later, maybe we need to come to the conclusion that this idea failed, right? No matter all the surrounding circumstances, the richer become richer, the poorer become poor, no matter where on this globe, on this planet. And so with fair licenses. So fair licenses have this idea, and by the way, I should read the comments, but basically, how can we fix this, right? I don't have that one dedicated answer. The one answer I would simply ask for big tech to give a little bit back, because currently the only major thing you can get is getting employed there, but yet you still have done all the stuff like Chris Lattner or other people, or Linus Torvalds in the Linux Foundation. So and he's just getting compensation from the Linux Foundation, right? And that are only the best case scenarios of otherwise doing other things, right? And not to mention, like most open source developers, they have a 9 to 5 job or longer. And they do this additionally to their job for free in their spare time and not having weekend and stuff, right? So fair licenses have the idea, still open source, but if you use this commercially, then you need to give back. And there are some, first of all, what is the problem with this? This is the most fair thing. So I'm not even saying I want to charge hobbyists. Let's say we do an amazing microkernel and better program languages, because have you seen Rust? Or Swift, and the complexities. Let's say, but it also doesn't matter. Like let's see, we do an amazing AI system, like whatever. Sure, you could say we could make an AI, because I only give you this example, not that you say, yeah, but you bloody microkernel. Okay, fair enough. I hear you. Okay, let's say we do the next greatest and best thing in AI. I'm not saying I do this. I'm not saying, but let's pretend, like just for imagination, to have a concrete example. Sure, we can just make it fully commercial and stuff, but let's say we don't want this. Let's say we like this open source thing, because otherwise we're just a commercial software company, right? Like before you say, but why don't you just go full commercial? Then sure, we could do this, but then we're Microsoft and Apple and Google and stuff, and we're still not making the world a better place with open source. And the other thing would be, like, how can we make open source more fair? And other people, of course, have thought about this and came up with this fair licensing. And yes, it's not the greatest breakthrough, but I'm only saying, like, maybe that's idea. That means there are variants, right? I would say for my hypothetical software, microkernel or AI or whatever, I would still give it for free for normal people, like hobbyists, that you can research it, you can even contribute it. You can even send typo fixes and whatnot, right? It's the usual stuff. It's, by the way, before I say, but all the contributions, like I didn't even ever get the most contributions except at Rock Linux back in the day 20 years ago, before everyone wanted to earn money and left because life and money. it's not also like I do exact image, our GPL image processing library. I nearly never get patches. Like probably I got 5 patches in 20 years or whatnot. It's not like you do open source. Sure, it's not the most known and stuff, but it's not like you do open source and then you constantly get fixes, improvements. It's like I can count the patches for exact image on my hands. Basically, by the way, I should sometimes check if we still have 0 frames and stuff. I lose the overview with dual streaming to streaming platforms. So still free for normal people, like basically free. I would actually say, why not fair license? It's open source because we love it. Who does not like also to learn, so people can learn, people can study, like in the good old-fashioned old days, in the olden days, or today. Hobbyists can still do hobbyist things, right? Like you take your Raspberry Pi, you do amazing stuff at home for your friends and family. It's fair use. Just do it. And then comes the but. But if you make serious money with this stuff, like let's say you are Apple and you copy the AI or the compiler, Apple and even increasing Microsoft, like Windows subsystem for Linux, even LLVM, right, for the compiler. And I'm not speaking on behalf of the LLVM project. I have nothing to do with them. I'm only giving you examples, right? Let's say we make the next amazing language and or my next dream of tiny. I say LLVM because I basically want LLVM but smaller. I basically want tiny LLVM. I said this the other day already. So everyone can just use it for the things. But if you make money, what is the problem? What? Because people always come with their pitchforks and it's like, but true open source and forking and stuff is like, excuse me, why? Like, let's say I spent now, let's say a year. I spend, how many is this? 40 by how many? 5,000 whatnot hours a year working. Well, actually, we should actually compute that. So, speaking of Lure, so 40 by, let's say 50, it's 52, but let's say some holiday, okay, 2,000 hours. Fair enough. I should, if this is even correct, 40-hour week by 52 weeks, probably plus minus, give or take. So 2,000 hours. Let's say I spend 2,000 hours on something like Lua, JIT or whatever, and it's actually amazing, right? People want to use it. So if it's classic open source, I now spend 2,000 hours, which, I mean, what is it even if we say 100? Speaking of salaries, right? Let's say it's an equivalent of like someone studied computer science, millennials, Gen Z, they actually want to earn some money, right? Eventually earn a house. Like, have you seen the housing prices? $1 million for a house or whatnot, plus all the ongoing living costs. So let's say you actually want to finance your family and your future. That is actually quite modern, inflation adjusted and stuff, ballpark number of like, how is stuff so expensive? Like, don't ask me. Somehow my food is not free and the electrons on computers. So why is it socially acceptable in even the software world that, but you need to give it needs to be open and free and BSD and GPL and I need to be able to fork it? Like, why? It's like my thing then or your thing. How is this acceptable? This modern, it's basically the equivalent in the meantime of modern slavery, right? And sure, there are some minor problems. I would say in total that should be relatively uncontroversial. By the way, I have some things going on. Maybe I should sometimes check what's going on with all the notifications that I now I have 2 times of this. So much to dual restreaming to 2 platforms, even more notifications to get distracted. So probably I should go now through the comments and people with their pitchforks. But should this not be the normal thing that if you already give something and you still, even with fair licensing, you still give your amazing tech for free, people can study it, they can basically also copycat it then even more. Like basically you give them the blueprint of like, it's fair licensing if you make good money off of this because it's a more safe, higher performance language and server, AI or whatnot, you can still use. What is the problem of like normal businesses not getting your food for free or your car or your oil service? And have you seen how expensive electric car batteries are, by the way? Of either just licensing that, if you really like, if it's useful for your business, you also pay for pens or keyboards. It's not like I get keyboards for free or stuff, right? So I only want to brainstorm here, right? And so for my my microkernel or language thing or whatnot, right? I probably will try it out, because the thing is, like, if I do a new language, I'm not naive. If we now start a new language, because have you seen how much Rust sucks? Let's say we make a tinier Zig, a better Lua JIT or whatnot, because obviously we can in a year or so. Of course, in the beginning you have nothing. You start with nothing and stuff, and then you work for a year, and then it eventually starts to be amazing or halfway usable. So we don't even lose anything, right? Like, either it's garbage, then nobody will use it anyway. It's not like people use my open source stuff currently, mostly anyway. Or it's amazing, and then you license it fair, and then if a business, let's say some AAA game company wants to use it then for the next AAA game because it's higher performance than Lua or whatnot, then they can license it, right? Like, why should a AAA game, like, why should Valve or what, or the EA and what other closed or id Software get stuff for free and put it in Quake 27? And then you need to buy Quake 27 because obviously not id Software is giving you that for free. Yeah, and so for basically hobbyists, and like even I said here for vintage and retro things, for even that doesn't change something, right? If you make a new 3D graphics, and that's the next thing, 3D graphics. So basically all the next three big main things I want to do, initially I only wanted to do microkernel, but then people only invented more cursed languages and increasingly hard to compile LLVM infrastructure things. And then people constantly delete the, like, always when we have 3D drivers in a working state, they delete it because then the hardware is 10 years old. Like, always when it's feature complete and bug free, then it gets deleted. And Mesa 3D, so now we also need, I never wanted, like, okay, not never. Like, until recently, I did not wanted to do a 3D stack, but somehow have you seen the deleted Mesa Xorg and the incomplete, not vintage hardware supporting Mesa Wayland and all the deleted, and now for big N, they even broke. You give IBM your money, they use your software, you still give IBM your money, you have your Power 8 server, and you can't even on the latest Power 8, 9 or 10 server, you can't game because it's big endian. Yes, I hear you, it's dual, okay, it's dual endian. You could boot your IBM Power 8, 9, 10 server in little endian and still have your Mesa 3. Anyway, so basically, I lose nothing, right? Because it's not like people pay me for open source. Anyway, the only thing is, with this fair licensing, if I use other people's software, I would also need to pay for this, like the Linux kernel and stuff, if they license it for fair. But what is the thing? I also license, I mean, first of all, we have some Windows licenses, we have some macOS licenses. Theoretically, we even have some Adobe licenses and whatnot. I even purchased Pixelmator because I liked it more than Photoshop. I even purchased some games like id Software, Quake 3, and recently Monkey Island. It's not like I'm evading licenses. Probably most open source people are actually those who give the most fair back of patronage, patroning other projects and stuff, or even Aston's not Galway, Glasgow Interface Explorer, supporting other people's open source, open hardware projects. And again, many things I use, like Claire's amazing Yosis FPGA toolchain, I would still consider in the fair use thing, although I would also love to give back more to Claire, or KiCad. It's just that we do not use it for products anyway, right? Like, but then people do that today anyway, and those who struggle earning money with software actually, I've experienced are those who give more back than most people do not giving back. So I'm mostly saying big companies, right? Like Volkswagen, Tesla, you know, all the self-driving car stuff with Linux inside and stuff, which fair enough, the Linux Foundation of course has enough money. Maybe Linux is not the best. So I'm also not saying all my examples are perfect. Like, I call out here Linux when I'm not speaking for Linus Torvalds and Alan Cox, right? I'm only giving you this an example. For other, I could also say BSD, NetBSD, OpenBSD, and just an example. it's just, of course, that Linus Torvalds, like Linux became so important that they have some foundation. But the reality is also, so not only is the Mozilla Foundation not working the most financial viable, and they struggle to find anything else than their 90 plus or whatnot part of Google donations there. As we have seen, the members of the projects of the Linux Foundation are also not so particularly trustworthy. And what saddens me really, and there you see how shameless BigTech is that the Linux Foundation, as I said half an hour ago, the Linux Foundation has most of this the solution, aka money, right? They swim in money, and why do I need the smallest people in the open source community need to speak up here when they sit with all the money and all they do is they give it to corporate bullshit nonsense instead of they could have long established some open source fund. But no, the German government needs to come, which, yes, I've still not applied to that. Theoretically, there is some money in the sovereign tech fund, but the reality is also they only give it to really big projects and aka, ironically, my competitors. Thank you, German tech fund, to fund open embedded, which is somehow less complete and slower and buggier and whatnot. It's like, I mean, also like, you can do it, and it's funding open source stuff. I only wonder if this money goes to Europe or somewhere else, but that's another matter. But so basically, funding so bad, so leading to the German government, like, yeah, maybe we make you some millions of funding, but then you need to be, so it's not like every small person can get there. It's even the good intention of the German sovereign tech fund. And first of all, I've written, and that's also, you do all the code and then you need to spend days writing the application. I've written most of the application, but in July I thought let's make one big release and be a little bit more in the media to increase our chances, because I thought, like, brainstorming with friends, my best friends and family, we thought like, yeah, maybe T2 is not importantly known enough to even be accepted there. With all the big name, and that's the thing, like, then the government is like, hey, we make you some funding, but of course only the biggest big name projects get some funding there. Yes, I didn't send the application in, so also now that's also the thing, month after month I fix the things to finally become potentially maybe more popular, and then already 4 months, like how many things are like just like 20,000 commits, and at the end, Mesa 3D is broken for Big Endian, which of course I could not care. Like, just compile it, it just doesn't work. The people at home on their Big Endian machines may or may not find this out. Anyway, which probably might potentially be the way to do that or something. Anyway, and they could have long developed a fair, or fair, so it's probably not fair, like basically the Linux Foundation could have long even passed. Like, imagine if the Linux Foundation, years ago they had $270 million a year. Probably, I think the last time they probably achieved 300,000, but that's only my ballpark estimate. Previously it was 270, but 270, 300 million, this is just change in the tip jar there. Even if they would use a fraction, let's say a third or whatnot, let's say they would use 100 million. Imagine if the Linux Foundation would be true to their community and just would use a third for like spreading it for like, even if it would only be in Linux, of by contribution. If maybe, by the way, I find deletion stupid. Like, hey, the person gets money because it deletes the most old drivers. Like, no, maybe not by changes and stuff, like maybe only by additions, because like, have you seen all those people deleting drivers because old? The most working stable drivers, nobody touched it in 5 years. It probably needs to be deleted. And I guess this driver was perfect, like, thanks for deleting. Anyway, so maybe only count additions and not deletions, because deleting is easy. So yeah, they could have long, either for the Linux kernel, like those who sent in there the most by email or whatnot, or maybe rated with like, yeah, this was difficult, like, it was a one-line change, but took a week to debug. So that's, of course, it is difficult, right? It's not like this person did 3 changes and then also people artificially spread stuff to changes, because, so maybe more like some kind of, and also like maybe only people who want to contribute, not like they work at Intel and get additional money. So maybe some registered, regularly reasonably contributing people in the open source community, and with some lines added, not deleted, with some factor of like, this was really like some community vote like this one line change was really difficult, because like imagine finding it like us recently, for 1 year you debug system instability and then it's a one line change. and then you get $1 paid for that. That of course, like there would need to be some scaling factor. Similar, speaking of which, right? Adding insult to the injury. During all the unimportant work that nobody's really interested in, because AKA, have you seen how few people use T2 Linux? AKA, I heard, according, not many. But recently we did some things, right? Remember 3 years ago when on RISC-V goodness here, RISC-V stuff, right? As seen on Linus Tech Tips and Level 1 Tech, I believe. We were the first to do RDNA2 on RISC-V. And I tried, I did this. I didn't even expect that it doesn't work. It didn't work. And I spent my whole weekend as open source. And that's the thing, right? Open source developer, spending their weekend fixing other people's things and then getting nothing for that. Imagine any other job. Like, have you heard doctors working for free during the weekend? And I told the story before, right? It was a prototype 4 years ago. I spent my whole weekend. It worked proof of concept, but it wasn't upstream worthy because it was a gross hack after a weekend of debugging and research and stuff. And then I thought, before I'm not really feeling like spending another day of making this really upstream worthy. And I tried networking, LinkedIn and email and stuff with AMD and Sci-Fi, High-Five. Because it was the High-Five, Sci-Fi unmatched board and AMD GPU RDNA2 graphics, which I purchased the board with my own money, $666. I purchased the GPU at that time 4 years ago. Remember it's COVID stuff, and so the GPU was effing expensive, probably €700 or whatnot. So I gave, as I do for 25 years, I gave companies my hard-earned money that nobody gives me for open source. Then I find it doesn't work, I fix it, and then I get nobody to pay for this, right? And I didn't even ask for high numbers like $10,000, which might otherwise have potentially even been reasonable. All I asked was, hey, I did it. I fixed this to work. I didn't expect it didn't work. I fixed it to work. It's a prototype hack. If I could polish it for you to upstream it, would it be possible to pay? I only asked for 8 to 16 hours. Like I said, hey, maybe $1,000 or $2,000. Neither AMD nor Sci-Fi High-Five was capable of donating in some way, shape, or form $1,000 or $2,000 to make RDNA. Where do I even have the graphic card? I have illustration purposes and another graphic card here from the other day. And so the only and later, remember when for 1 year I was struggling with system instability, right? For 1 year, stuff was randomly segmentation faulting. And after a year of debugging, basically I thought it's overclocking, underclocking. After a year of troubleshooting, and so it's not a year of work time. It was a year wondering what the freaking heck is unstable here, right? Like you underclock everything and you cool everything more and stuff. And at the end of the day, we found we run everything at base clock, non-overclocked, overcooled and everything, and it was still wait a second, this is reproducible, right? After a year of wasting my time, and again, giving AMD and giving those companies, again, by the way, do you see a pattern? We work for free and we give them all the money, right? And I was, as a YouTuber, so stupid, didn't even make the best content out of this. I should have waited like I usually 20 years ago. I always waited some month or half a year to get better pricing. Being a dumb YouTuber, the dumbest YouTuber of all of open source YouTube, I even purchased this AMD Zen 4 and the overly priced, it was even the most expensive main logic board I ever purchased. The CPU, the usual €999, and the board, the $660 freaking board, the Gigabyte X670E thing. The most expensive board plus the memory. So again, you spend all the money, there are bugs inside, you waste a year long you waste your time with stupid bugs and instability until you figure out wait a second, that is a CPU bug. I found AMD Zen 4 Eratum 1485. It's hey, by the way, there you have some CPU bug, right? And they acknowledged it. They gave it, AMD gave it officially the number Zen 4 Eratum 1485. I'm not making this shit up, right? Do you think I got something for that? I didn't get this. I didn't ask. So I did not ask what I get for that, right? But do you think they offered me anything? No, they offered me nothing. Not like you get a free Zen CPU, you get a free motherboard, you get the thank you. I got nothing, right? Not even being listed somewhere in the Hall of Fame of finding a CPU bug. You get nothing. It's like, oh, cool, thanks. And the craziest thing is, we didn't even get the microcode patch because consumer things like you got this eventually in your BIOS like 6 months later, because what I regularly call out, unlike Intel, the only thing where Intel is better at AMD is having microcode updates for consumer CPUs, because in AMD land, in the Linux kernel, but most people don't know, and I regularly each year shout out here again, the microcode update in the Linux kernel are only for high-end server and enthusiast thread repartiers, right? So I did not even get a microcode update for my CPU. I had to wait, like everyone else, 6 months to get it eventually with a BIOS update. So thanks for that. So that's also crazy stuff. Like in this moment, and this is also like after I asked, like, hey, can someone send me a check for $1,000 or $2,000 to finish? And now, how long does it take? It took, nobody else did this, right? I said, I was in, you know what, if you don't want to pay me to finish my prototype work, it took them 3 years. It is now only this needed in kernel, because what was the issue? The AMD display controller, the new AMD display controller stuff needs floating point in the kernel, right? The only thing what I found 3 years ago, or 4 years ago, the new AMD, what I also didn't know, right? First I had to debug what is even the problem, why does it not work and stuff, and then, oh, it's in kernel. So I prototyped 4 years ago in kernel floating. It's, of course, it's not the biggest change, right? It only took me a day or so, and it would have been another day of actually making this code pretty and working and stuff. It took nearly 4 years to, it's only 6, so I did this with 5 whatnot, I guess, 5, 11 or 17 or 4 years ago. Because they didn't pay me, and I said, okay, what, you know, I don't need it better. For me, it's good enough. It took them nearly 4 years for Hi5, Sci5 and stuff to upstream it. 4 years. This is why instead of paying a tiny little lousy, dumbest open source developer, it's $1,000, $2,000. It took them nearly 4 weeks, nearly 4 years. It's only Linux kernel 6.10. 6.10 only recently, some months ago. In kernel floating point support is upstream, so that AMD latest AMD RDNA 2 and 3 and stuff, the last year's high-end graphic cards can potentially work on RISC-V. Just a side story. So just at what is the consequence? The consequence is that the brightest of the industry is like, you know what, I have better things to do, right? The next time I work on in-kernel floating point is when I need this, which was not in the last 3 years. Anyway, so yeah, that is basically also how the Linux Foundation and the surrounding companies do not make this stuff particularly better. I see here some gifted subs and stuff. That is amazing. I highly appreciate this. But basically, how to make money by open source, by begging the community of leaving a super thank, a super chat, a Patreon, go buy me coffee, which by the way I also have. But even with that, as you see here, I'm probably one of the more known open source developers. Sure, they are more known, they are more successful, but like until recently, this like it grew slowly to $222. So more majorly known open source developers should develop their Linux distribution and surrounding software for $222 a month, which I'm highly thankful for, because that is more than I got the first 20 years of open source, which was exactly nothing. And it's also open source developers should, when I was a student, I was writing articles for the Linux magazine, right? Or golem.de. Why do you find some articles from me in the Linux magazine and Golem and stuff? Because like, I had to pay invoices as a student, and you don't pay invoices with open source, which is of course hilarious, that you should do open source, and then to finance other work you write articles or open a beach bar or bread and breakfast or so, I guess, because that is stuff what people actually apparently sometimes maybe pay for. Yeah, basically many comments. I said here open panel discussion thing. Now I need to go back through all the millions of comments, and how many do we have? Some viewers. That is amazing. So now I have the problem. Previously I had one window of comments. I basically soon need money for an assistant to actually go through all the comments here and Trap says Futo is doing this. Yeah, but I think Futo, if I understood Louis Rossmann correctly, it was. But I mean, Futo is also selectively, like the German sovereign tech fund, only selectively paying some companies, and so it's only funding for a few. And my understanding is you would need to move to Texas or something. So it's not like, and then also like if you don't have a work permit, I don't think if they auction or sell you a work permit to work in at Texas for that. So now we have really many comments and anonymous gifters of subs, which is amazing. Happy to hear that. Increasingly more subscriptions on Germany with all taxes. You will never get to 200,000. More like who is walking? I bet most of the government would simply do their own thing. So I spoke with other people in the industry, as that is what I said earlier. So the irony is, I spoke with some people over the years, and some people clearly told me, you know what, we have so many expenses. Many people in the industry, and I know some people, many people actually told me, you know what, if there would be a clear licensing thing, they would just pay it, because everything is efficiency and stuff, and it is more efficient if you can license something for some $100 or $1,000, or even if you are Facebook or need to pay 100,000 or whatnot, it is still freaking cheaper than re-implementing it from scratch, because like re-implementing it from scratch is usually a similar amount of actually, or like let's say even half amount. Sure, there is some efficiency. If you reinvent the wheel, it's usually cheaper, but like it's still enormous cost, right? So it's not like re-implementing it, you're getting it for free. And many people told me, you know what, if there would be a clear procedure, they would do it. To the AMD thing, I even reached out to, I think his name is Bridgman, right? The previous AMD open source manager and liaison who recently retired. And I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but so basically he told me, to tell you what he told me 3 years ago with this RDNA 2 floating point stuff. He said basically, he said kind of, I'm paraphrasing, he would love to support me and give $2,000 for me, but he has no corporate means. So he said like, they don't have any structure, any organizations of like filing $2,000. I mean, I was usually not the best businessman. I probably should have said like, yeah, maybe you have a spare Threadripper or stuff. Pay me in a spare Threadripper. But I was like, okay, fine, then not. But so basically, the unofficial word from them at AMD was like, yeah, we would love to, but I don't have a mean right now. I don't have a structure. It's like, and I'm busy with other things. So it's like, yeah, that was the best I got out of AMD. So, but also, I mean, the most shady is really like, if you find a real processor bug, they could have like, and it's also not that I should be begging, right? Like, there's even it's, in my opinion, it should also not be like I should have been begging more to get anything for finding a CPU bug. I think the normal thing would also have been like, hey, thanks for finding it. Like, they could have at least sent some nice looking poster thing of, or some CPU would also have been nice. But yeah, maybe I'm just expecting too much. People with the Doom Emacs, I don't know. Sorry for what a few days ago. Really impressive. Happy to see this. Maybe I managed to learn how to contribute to some meaningful ways. Yeah, you can start just fixing some metadata. I mean, so many KDE or KDE was recently updated. Still some GNOME, quite some GNOME packages simply could have better text, or you could simply improve wording on the website or HTML on the website or whatever you are in. Hey man, you got a better touch bar for T2 Fedora? What do you mean? How I don't really actually. So gifted 20 code therapies memberships. That is totally amazing. The Reno man. I have no idea who you are, but I highly appreciate this. This is amazing. So there's gifted memberships. Thank you there. Shout out again. That is amazing. And I should say, so the only, and that is Intel and AMD, sure, Intel nearly bankrupt. And I was not asked to give a shout out, but the only company who recently started to sponsor us a little bit is the deep computing company, RISC-V company, right? They sent this. They sponsor me a little bit and sent me recently this amazing. It could also, if I would find here my, hey, 0 frames. That is amazing, because then where's my camera? That's the camera. Huh. They sent recently this amazing 7 nanometer RISC-V prototype, and even an RDNA3 card. And you know what? Within days, RDNA3, like basically within hours, RDNA3 was working on RISC-V, and they were happy. Even more happy would be if I get Doom 3 working on RISC-V. If you're a Doom 3 specialist, we have some bugs to fix for Doom 3 on RISC-V. Allowing billionaires to be a society is not related to the fact that there is open source software. Don't think. I don't know in which related this was. Was it to me? You guys need to use some objects and subjects in your sentence so that I know 10 minutes later to what this was. I think most people only become billionaire because they steal and rip and cheat. Usually billionaires are the biggest cheating grifters, conmens and tax invaders. And I think if I think we should not allow billionaires and big companies. Like my company's taxes are hunted to the last cent. I even made a video. Italy came after me 6 years later, even though we paid only because we reported 7 or 11 days late. Remember this video? I did not pay this, by the way. I've thrown it. I listened to your recommendations, and people said like 5 or 6 years later is not enforceable by EU law, so I thrown it into the trash. But only as an example. Also, we paid it, right? We paid it. We only allegedly, according to Italy's things, 6 years later, we reported it some days late, but paid it in full. Okay. Don't think. But otherwise, also like small companies. We are fully investigated every 4 months and every 4 years, and I don't. And I mean, we need to pay at the fullest. Even for this, we need. I mean, even for this system from overseas, we need to pay full customs and stuff, which is hilarious. The highest customs I ever paid for the 7 nanometer RISC-V machine. So much to hey, support open source developers, and they need to pay customs and stuff. Like, yeah. Also, most of the customs was storage for nearly 14 days because they were processing customs so slow that it's like basically the storage, like I should make a dedicated video, DHL German, although to be fair, there are apparently some Russian bomb threats and it was X-rated, repacked and stuff like, say, thanks for World War III of like increasing customs processing and my costs. Yes, amazing. So it's not DHL and German customs fault if they need to X-ray and disassemble every other package and like that. Anyway, so but just look at, don't take me for granted. Like just listen to what billionaires say of their recently caught on tape being proud of the tax invasion. I mean, obviously, have you seen the Panada papers and whatnot papers and how many? It's like I'm not making this shit up, right? So tax evading and all the shell companies on international tax evasion. It's not like it's you've probably seen that of papers, right? Of Panama and where not and Seychelles, and it's not like I'm fantasizing this stuff together. And also, it would make actually, if billionaires would pay their fair share, then everything would be cheaper for us because somehow the small people pay all the taxes and infrastructure cost, and the billionaires get their subsidies and tax breaks and did I mention subsidies and also tax minimizations that I can't do because we're not a big international mega corporation to pay ourselves license fees to Cayman Islands for the use of. Actually, wait a second. I have a company to open in the Cayman Islands, and I have a T2 license to register in the Seychelles. Yeah. What else do we have here? Software is very, very good to me. Software has to be exploited, of course, when it comes to what we all exploitation to whatever. And thanks for the subscription. So yeah, so next thing. So as you see, I only do such a video once a year. It has been this time of a year where it's like due. And And certainly going forward, we anyway should think about in the context of AI, right? Like now AI is scanning and learning all and inspired from all our open source code. And then the big name corporate people asking ChatGPT or CodeGPT or whatnot, Copilot, hey, write me some things. And then it's fantasizing all your trained open source together. And we say nothing. This is amazing. So the only thing better than using open source for free is incorporating it through AI. It's an AI translation fuzzy layer into your next big money product, right? We will end in obsolescence. Worked on IBM projects for a couple of years, says Ian, and no single line of code ever made it to the market. That is said. So that's similar to what I said, like what people told me, like if there is a clear path, like if there's an unclear path, companies will not pay. But if it's clear, this is a product, like let's say PHP or Python or just an example, right? Ruby or the next gen or Phenomena, whatever, tiny LLM thing. And this is a product that is amazing. People want to use it because smaller, faster, more secure, whatnot. And there's a clear price, a fair, like obviously not a rip-off price, but a fair price. People also, like companies literally purchase iPhones and iPads and Macs, right? It's not like they don't have money and don't buy things. And maybe the takeaway is, with these fair licenses, we should not allow business to rip us off, right? Asking us like, hey, Apple using all the open source stuff in the iPhone, yes, just look at the licenses from libJPEG to lib whatnot, and certainly LVM and stuff. And it's like, yeah, thank you for your free code, but can you buy our overpriced iPhone now? Thank you very much. You can be like the market of red game tool stuff. Yeah, leave me in the comments below. Even if you watch this later in a day or month or year, I usually get notifications for old comments, and let's discuss, all right? Share, like, and subscribe. Leave your comment below. Your opinion, the problems that you don't get paid. The big tech makes money with open source like Microsoft Azure, Apple OS X, macOS, BSD, Sony, BSD kernel. Yeah, that's exactly, like other people make billions. And I'm not saying Sony and Apple only make billions of this. Of course, they contribute like maybe half of it. But and with half, I mean, we mean half, right? Like macOS and iOS and stuff based on Mach microkernel with other BSD, GNU userland and stuff. And they are legally allowed to do so with the BSD license. But coming back to like maybe what about more fair licensing so that big mega corporations can still make amazing products. Just maybe the people they stand on their shoulders get something and not only nothing. Why not go and apply for a job at AMD? Like if I would have wanted, like I did not start my career to be like, why? Because there was one amazing code contributing person less. Also, I can only touch Microsoft and Microsoft Windows and macOS. Have you seen macOS and Windows? Like I need to take antidepressivas. Like I'm too spoiled to like and like no, like I would rather open a beach. I'm not even joking. Like I would open a car repair. I would rather do anything than work at Apple or Microsoft. I'm really sorry to say this. I'm not even joking. I rather open my imaginary beach coffee. Like imagine how good your life is like with a freaking beach coffee. Like literally everything is better than working in an Apple or Microsoft cubicle and having to endure Microsoft. And I have friends at Microsoft and Apple, and they are not, like strangely, all my friends at Apple leave Apple and Microsoft. They leave as soon as they can after their initial amount of you need to stay so many years and you have your citizenship and can legally stay in the US. Like, goodbye Apple and Microsoft. Finally, we are free. Was this video not about freeing us from being enslaved and stuff, and not how like if I wanted, like also like then I would have just worked at Porsche engineering and stuff. Like and by the way, this is in many ways it's also internationally export surplus, with Apple, also big tech, strangely in America, dominating the market with their totally fair marketing practices, and the open source developers from all over the world, it's like contributed the code for free. Linux painting from computer, applied it. AMD should give you something ASAP. What don't understand? YouTubers get so much hardware. Yeah, and that's the thing. Why did I coming full circle? Why did I start YouTube? I made more money with YouTube in 4 years than I ever made with open source. Let that sink in. And I only made some $10,000 in 4 years of YouTube. So I did not even become rich on YouTube, right? I only live streamed like literally, and that is also. Hey, you're a nice open source developer. Why don't you also do Patreon, go buy me a coffee, and also open a YouTube and Twitch channel? Then you get some $250 a month. Wait, no, actually that is on top. So you get like $250, like if you have 50,000 subscribers and some viral videos, then eventually you get $250 a month plus your $250 Patreon, so you can nearly live off of it. And this is only when you become popular, not like when you only write a tiny program and you're not so that's also the thing, right? Even when I was a small YouTuber, companies like Lenovo and Samsung already I'm listed. Companies like Lenovo and Samsung, when I only had 3,000 and 4,000 subscribers, which was absolutely mind-blowing to me. I never expected, like I wrote Samsung, remember when I just unpacked some Galaxy phone back in the day, which I thought like maybe, I thought like maybe it's time to transition to Android. I never had an Android. It's like I thought like as a Linux developer and YouTuber, it's like, hey Samsung, you want to send me a phone for review? And they did. They even sent. Actually, I asked in the context of this DeX Linux desktop thing, right? And they were totally sure. Should we also send a display? And I was like, display? I don't really need the display, but like, and so I didn't get to keep it, right? But like, it's already the difference of. You get something to work with and test, or you get nothing, right? Like remember this videos, and I probably said this, and this is also, I only wanted, so the main reason I wanted this is I wanted to test this Linux DeX desktop on things, and shout out to Samsung, they really sent it to me, although I had only 4,000 subscribers, and shout out to, did I shout out already? This is totally not paid advertisement, and I was not asked to say this, but similar shout out to Dusty, sorry. Similar shout out to Lenovo, which for years ago I was like, hey, Linux developer, you want to send some ThinkPad thing to test and stuff? And they was like, open source what? And then some years later, you have 5,000 YouTube subscribers, and it's like, yeah, coming full circle, how to, the only viable thing. And that's also like, why do I do this stuff? I saw Linus Tech Tips and stuff like, you know what, as open source developer, I get nothing. Like if I'm becoming an YouTube open source influencing, it's like, hey, finally it starts working. Is it not like amazing? So yeah, shout out to those companies who at least give me stuff for some weeks, which is totally amazing. More than nothing, of course, I still cannot live off it, but I'm highly thankful and respectful for those companies to do that at all, because given I do not give 100,000 subscribers, they wouldn't need to, and it also made T2 Linux better, right? In sending this, I always find at least something, like either some Wi-Fi driver, some bootsync, some Intel Rapid Storage, some Mesa config thing. Like each and every device companies sent here always met some open source detail in the Linux kernel better in some way, shape, or form. And this even, we patched T2 to enable Thunderbolt 4 by default, USB 4, because in all other Linux distributions it only works. Like if you plug in for example in the installer, most Linux distributions do not support this in the installer or other things, because by default it's totally top secure. So the Linux kernel would ask the user space for permission to assign PCIe lanes for not to DMA stuff out. And I didn't even know that. I only realized when Lenovo sent me this loan unit. So I patched this in the T2 Linux is the only Linux which by default Thunderbolt stuff just works, because in my opinion, if you have physical access, like it's in my opinion a little bit bullshit, right? Like you plug something in, it doesn't work unless you have the correct UI things installed. So what else do you have there? Great patches. Are you planning to send these nice patches upstream? If you shall like subscribe, like I'm not joking. I'm not joking when in the last, my self-diagnostics is I'm burnt out, because not only do I run a company for soon 20 years, probably 18, and open source and stuff, and also a YouTube channel. Like basically, have you wondered why I live stream so much at night and weekend? Because like when else should I get the stuff done? The thing is, sending stuff upstream is highly inefficient. I do this at times. I said this before, the very first patch ever from outside Google to the V8 JavaScript engine was from me. I also, like, I constantly send stuff upstream, but I don't have more time, right? Like if maybe I make a tier, like an expensive tier of $25 in Patreon of like adopt a patch a month or stuff, because like it takes time to find the right thing. Each project has another Bugzilla workflow and stuff, and each time I send something in, other shit happens. Formatting, white space damage, this and that. But this is also the thing. There's absolutely coming full circle again. There's absolutely no incentive, right? If I make amazing stuff in T2, then at least some people start to use T2 because magically everything works there. If I send this upstream, I get nothing. I don't have the superior project. I make other things better for free, and that is why. First of all, it costs me even more time. It makes my product stand out less, and I get nothing for this, right? And most people don't even care because like it's for risk stuff that people just want to have deleted. What does Burly Bear say? Might be more efficient to move to China. Actually, I once wanted to partially move to Taiwan. But with all the vision, I also like Taiwan much better than China, by the way. Remember when my company does here all the scanner things, and one big thing is with all the Avision scanners, and I have been in Taiwan 5 or 6 times, and here the most things are with Avision, the biggest scanner company on Earth, headquartered in Shenzhou, there next to Taipei. And like 15 years ago, I was actually floating to them like, hey, what do you think of you find some abandoned corner here and I work some monthly out of Taipei, Taiwan. They didn't like this idea the most. It didn't like I think they were very suspicious to this. I think they thought I want to spy on them. To be honest, I thought it would be a really cooperative idea or very efficient things But like, spoiler alert, BigTech does not like creative ideas. And that's also the thing, I think. So the thing is, Apple is not even that good. Like, have you seen how bad Microsoft was? Apple is the new Microsoft, is my opinion. My opinion is Apple is the new Microsoft, absolutely downhill of more bugs, more cursed things, changes for changes, fuel innovation. Have you seen the failing Vision Pro? Mark my words, you can quote me on that. Apple is the new Microsoft with bugs and shady business practices, and this is all the companies you want to give all your code for free, right? Daniel is making me feel left out. Lower comic effect and asking, surprised people missed out with all those gifts. Do you have a GmbH? Yes, I have. How is this relevant? I mean, of course I have a GmbH. Do you think I want people patent troll through me privately? And that's also the thing. By the way, good point. The only reason I have a GmbH, since the first day I went commercial, GmbH is a German language room limited. And don't swat me again. I'm live streaming out of a bunker. I'm not sitting in my office anymore. So please stop swatting us at our legally required imprinted address. And the reason I went immediately limited, which cost me extra money, and each year costs me extra taxes. I probably pay. Is it 25? What is it? Körperschaftsteuer. I probably pay 20% more taxes on profits and stuff, just to be personally protected from patent lawsuits, right? That is basically the main and only major reason my company is limited, so that when patent trolls come, which thankfully did not happen yet, but like obviously I don't want to lose everything privately just because some progress bar from IBM or other cursed impact 2 and 3 stuff, right? By the way, if you do business, don't operate it from home. If stuff is searched and confiscated, and best some kind of limited, so that when shady business gangsters like patent trolls come, you can close your business and move on and not be personally liable for like scroll bar and asynchronous web data lading and database query bullshit patents. Maybe I should have said they paid me hundreds of thousands to write that code for IBM. Yeah, I can imagine. But I mean, to be fair, I don't know where UK laboratories. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, that's how research works. You research stuff, sometimes you sell it, sometimes not. But the crazy thing is that companies give so little back. But the thing is also, they are not legally required, and they are legally required to work for their investors and stuff, right? So basically, because they are not required by law, they don't do it, right? Like, why should Apple? Sure, sometimes they are nice and have like, but they are also only nice if you personally know them, and then you use your stuff or whatnot. And sometimes maybe after a lot of international pressure, community pressure, maybe they donate some 50,000 to some foundation or so. But that's also the thing. In my opinion, last but not least, coming to an end here. In my opinion, why we need to change this. in my opinion, we need to change this because currently there is no legal requirement, and that is also why they don't do this, right? And it's also fair, it's only fair, in my opinion, to ask for a fair license and compensation. And in contrast to all the cathedral and the bazaar and other free software papers and pamphlets and stuff, which somehow, when I was young and naive and brainwashed, somehow believed in, but 20, 30, 25 years later, this is an illusional dream work, that it's an illusion that we do. Like, have you seen all the wars and stuff? We are not making the world a better place. And have you seen all the corporate greed going on in all the world? And then outsourcing labor to your parents, friends, and your own labor to the cheapest countries they can possibly somewhere find, with lower quality and more bugs and stuff. Raise your hand. Have you seen all the horrible outsourcing and company migrating stories to areas where cheaper, and it's always cheaper and stuff, right? And yeah, this is why I think it's only fair to raise the licensing here. Leave me in the comments below what you think. Have you tried this? What was your success stories? Or if you say that it's stupid or whatnot, have other, like, leave your opinion below. Leave me in the comments what worked for you, what are your best recommendations, but not some bullshit like selling books, because selling books didn't work. And I just need to check here. We have some Twitch subscriptions. This is a problem. I probably need, and that's also the thing, at the end of the day, I even need to pay more money I need to shed out more money for a new display, because live streaming to Twitch and YouTube, even my 20-year-old displays are too small and too little and too few to see all the comment overload. You said China is district of what? No, Taiwan is independent Taiwan. And that is what the next war will be about, unfortunately. So remember, Greg Hartman had to get threat prepper from YouTuber to support it on. I don't think it, no. Greg Hartman, I'm not even sure, so that was level 1 tech. I've seen this video, but Greg Hartman is employed by the Linux Foundation. He surely, that was some kind of corporation. I don't expect, so he gets a good salary from the Linux Foundation. He has hundreds, thousands of, they likely also get hardware. Maybe Vendel built it for him, like maybe AMD paid, or maybe AMD sends the parts to him. I don't expect, this was likely only a promotion, like a cross-promotional, Linus Torvalds and like they would get anything they ever wanted. And Intel and AMD, of course, contribute code to the Linux kernel. But the thing is also, both, did you remember that I just said they outsource to the cheapest areas? This also pisses me off a little bit, that you do all the early enablement, all the early code when stuff was harder. You know, I coded before there was virtualization. I coded before there was mainstream PC emulation. We did it in the early days. We had to do it the hard way. Like, we had to write boot code to a floppy, or if we were later and richer and bigger, rewritable optical CD media and stuff. And each reboot, like you guru meditated longer, you made sure there are likely no bugs, because each time it didn't boot, you didn't have an emulator, you didn't have a virtualization, like you wrote a new floppy, you burned a new CD, and you could not single step through your BIOS, right? Like the harder days where everything took 10 times longer or 2 orders of magnitude. And we did all the marketing for decades of like making Linux great. And now what Intel and AMD does, they outsource everything to, like, we wonder why many Intel and AMD things, they rather outsource development to somewhere instead of paying me $1,000, right? And before you ask, like, why don't you go to Intel and AMD? Like, have you seen they outsource most things they can to the cheapest locations they could find? Like, maybe pay attention to some names of the submissions. Maybe the website can have get started section, not familiar with the two. I mean, we have, good point. We recently, yeah, but that's the thing. You, of course, if everything is amazing, at the end of the day, you also need even better website. We actually have here get started, right? Like we have here quick install. Is this not get started quick? I mean, maybe we could rename it, but yeah, we could rename it a little bit. Good point. But we have here quick install in 7 easy steps and quick build, which in 7-1 easy steps. Which you don't need to build. Basically, mostly you only need to install. And then maybe we should move because we cross-combat. There are some minor first build things to best do. So it's basically getting started with a fresh to install. I mean, yeah, it could be better grouped. That's just because this is knowledge base and this is documentation. But yeah, now that I talk about this live, it could have been even better things. Hate the German law with YouTube. It's shitty. Smaller YouTubers get your personal. What do you mean? You mean imprint? They didn't get my personal information. I mean, but it's a law in many states, and thankfully they only like say spotted. If you talk about the spotting, the imprint thing is a little bit silly, to be honest, because in case you anyway need. If you want to sue someone, you need to. So imprint is a little bit silly, but in my case, that's also why. You remember when I said if you do some business, make a limited and don't run it from home. And so they only spotted my office, right? People was like, how did they get your private address? They did not get my private address. I keep my private address. I had this 20 years ago when, like, you do open source development, people don't want to pay you. And then I had sometimes people coming to my private address 20 years ago when I was a student, and like, ding dong, hey, I saw your open source thing. And yeah, and what? Like, can you help me with this? Like, hello? It's like, I'm between university and stuff, and like, no. It's like, this happened a couple, like, I keep my private address as private as I can for 20 years already. After people came home to me, it's like 20 years ago, Ray, so thank you very much. Yeah, pro tip, keep your private stuff private and your business stuff business, and have some limited of not being personally liable. And that's also making everything more expensive, right? Like having to earn more money of like, hey, 20% higher profit taxes for like Körperschaftsteuer, whatever the GmbH was. I'm not a lawyer and tax expert. I'm back as far as him, and he's constantly pushing shit all the big boys make use of. Shameful, really. What you? Where am I? The Finnish man into something. I paid a camel to go through an eye of a needle to me. So yeah, many comments. Like I didn't. So basically, the first time. So what is going on Twitch? Basically, to check. Okay, we have what do we have here? Some Twitch love, some 100 stuff. Thanks for all. Basically, did we get a raid? Twitchy, shout out there. 10 community sub gift. That is amazing. And more 100 cheers. I only see this now because I feel no notification overload. Let's see. Do we have here anything substantial on how many viewers are we? Oh, by the way, this is the first test. That's also why basically I wanted to have this discussion tonight, and this is also why. Okay, 87 versus, so still YouTube, 10 viewers more on YouTube than Twitch. It's the first time ever experiment here to checking that out. So what else do we have here? Resubscription jet 6 months in a row, Yochi 44, that is amazing. Keep on doing love its channel. So yeah, so I will, so the only thing, so we will do microkernel, we will do hardware 3D, we will do tiny JIT. But this time I need to be going forward into the future. I need to be smarter. So still open source, but fair licensed. I will give this a try. The only thing, so there are of course some things, right? Like for Linux distributions, also I should, basically it is long and I should come to close, right? Basic for Linux distributions, of course, fair license is a bit of a problem if you distribute 100 or 1,000 fair license things. But I think it still, they should still work fair licensing out, right? They sponsor KDE and GNOME anyway. So it should not be possible for you to say, yeah, but other mass distribution things, it's like, yes, and then find a solution, right? This should not be impossible. Basically, yes, this I'm aware that there are some issues like this. Let me take a quick look. What is Linux Foundation? Open source give you experience. You can flex it, get good career opportunities. But that's the thing. Like I don't need career opportunities. I could have just worked from day one at Porsche and AMD. Also, this is bullshit. It's not like work as a free slave labor for some years and then get better career opportunities. This is bullshit. Just pay fairly. This is like you get that is bullshit argument. This is like, hey, do a free internship and then maybe we employ you. It's like, no, just f off. It's like, no, pay people or go home. Like, pay people or there's a highway, right? It's like, just no. That's right, but I stopped giving my work away for free. Sue people and companies who steal my code, and it works pretty well. That's interesting. What do you do, Weimar Republic? That's interesting to hear. I need to learn more. What else do we have here? Joke support and BigTech will never give back. See how much Apple gives. Yeah, but they would. Like if you have good things like Apple also licenses, right? Apple, so they will, like if everyone would use a fair license, like if LLVM would be fair licensed. Also LLVM is a little bit different because it was also developed at a university. University of Illinois or wherever there. But like, so if you make LLVM twice as small and twice as fast, I'm pretty sure Apple would pay you, or like either, that's the thing, like then instead of just using it for free, they would either license it fairly or they also license with ARM, right? Or license it fairly or just buy you out, right? Like give you $1 million or $2 million and it's like, and then it's theirs. And not like making it theirs for nearly for free. Funny how most liberal think that state government will fix everything over European institutions. People know what they deserve. A good thing. And welcome, camera best. Most of the corp should because in Germany, we all taxes you get 200 more, like minus taxes. Taxes do not make house price. Open source doesn't mean utilizing. We're not talking about how they're talking about salaries to nations, even without taxes. But in Germany, totally. So I'm reading the comments. That is the thing. You're into hype chest. That is amazing. Let's open the hype chest. We love hype chests. Some more emote rewards. That is amazing. We soon have emote overload here on this. Growing channels, managers, happy, but of course developers. Hippie, Vetternwirtschaft works really disgusting with all those funds, public money, pots. Yeah, that is why in general I'm not the greatest. I have not finished my applications. I'm very skeptical, and even if the Linux Foundation would do some, I mean it's difficult to do this fairly, but I mean any program of giving something is better than none. Yeah, with the German government tech fund there, I'm not the most happy that they give funds apparently outside of the EU. That is totally unacceptable in my opinion. Like if we do government funding, then it should be EU only. Like that they give it to Open Embedded or who knows in the USA, Open. So the Linux line, that is also really, one thing I should say is a German sovereign tech fund is funding Open Embedded, my direct competitor. Which only was funded by Yocto. They fund Yocto, and Yocto is based on Open Embedded. So they fund. I think they fund Yocto. So sovereign tech fund funds Yocto, and Yocto is open embedded based. By the way, Yocto is mostly Intel. So they fund, and Intel started corporate nonsense product, which is even highly funded. They have millions in funding, right? Why the German government's, like, in my opinion, this is complete misfunding. Like, how can they? I mean, sure, maybe they fund that because BMW and Volkswagen are using this, and maybe it goes to some German company. I don't know, but in my opinion, this is also highly intransparent from the German sovereign tech fund. But maybe I should have just applied, no matter how popular a project is, and not like procrastinate this for 4 months. That was certainly, again, not a particularly wise business decision of mine. But I agree with Surround and King Driver, and I'm this king of driver timeouts for. I have the same. Do you also have, like, my AMD Steam Deck is resetting every other day with ring buffer timeout things, which is totally shady, right? Like, it's like, remember the first and second gen GPU drivers they deleted? Like, at least they were working rock solid for a year, right? And this modern AMD GPU stuff, a million lines of code, and then it sometimes resets in the middle of a live stream, which could happen any moment, actually. Linus nowadays more star than a. Yeah, I by the way, I said this before, I would not want to do Linus Torvalds' job of just merging others. Like, this is even more mundane than my randomly fixes each day. Yeah, there are reasons why I'm not working at Apple, Google, or even as a Linus. I don't even want Linus Torvalds' job. I mean, maybe for the million he gets a year, but like, even. I mean, no. I mean, just merging bullshit the whole day. This is pretty mundanely boring for me, to be honest. Some more bytes. Thanks for contribution. Happy to do this. Happy to see your 100 byte things there of beating heart. That is amazing. I like this. That is so cute. Sounds like they don't care. Stupid, but by even hate or so. I hate how some open source projects really don't care about the community. Yeah, like Mesa. Like, just like, who cares about Big Endian? Who cares about? And in the meantime, Dash from our T2 Discord found even bugs at Mesa. So there are even bugs open for Big Endian, and they released it and didn't fix it. And so we are not the only one, right? Like, so there are open bugs of people who like, hey, this worked last month and now it's broken. So much to nobody wants to use vintage and retro GPUs. So we're not the only ones, unexpectedly, as seen by the popularity of the 8-bit guy and LGR. You're right, fine exploits won't report that the higher amount of bias. There was nothing better. Who is we? There is no we, there is them, people who Rennie and us, and now I personally will come in friendly with them. With the BigTech companies, Mama lets them pay and they refuse, lets them go. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? And then the government subsidizes even like Intel and Volkswagen going bankrupt and stuff, or Nokia and Karstadt, and it's like, hey, they get billions for systematically relevant, and like, yeah, but the open source developer, it's like, you're not systematically relevant. You already survive without money, so you don't need any. How can I start into Linux dev? Just look in what is not perfect and or what you like to work on. Held a message for reason chat automod, so you fixed the MDGPU button there, you don't. No, I only found it. Why? How can I? Darn. What happened now? Now this is open. I don't want automod. I want to approve that. How do I? Man, so much chat overload. Where do I click to approve this? Or is it now to expired? And shit, it's expired. Shit. New law of compelling to make companies responsible using open source software. Taxes are not theft. Taxes are vital for society. But the taxes would be lower if the richest and mega corporations would take taxes. And taxes, like, you want schools, right? You can't complain the roads and schools are shit and the theaters and stuff. And not like, taxes are a necessity for civilization, just like fair and reasonable and with oversight, and everyone should pay the equal fare, not like the richest weasel around of like, hey, we have big mega corporations, we're not supposed to pay taxes. And again, like if big mega corporations would pay their fair share of billions of taxes, the whole rest of the population would pay a billion less taxes. So it's a win-win. Do you have another job beside work on open source? Yes, my company. Oh, only gain money, open source and donations. No, I said this before, I cross-finance or like I work at 2 shifts of actually running a successful commercial company. This is not a little bit later because and don't swat us again. But like basically there and yeah, you need to run a commercial software company to finance your open source hobby. Do you read Wikipedia a lot? Do you think it's a legit source of information? It is a quite reasonable curated. I only have it here as summary. It's certainly a better summary. I don't read it a lot. It's like a dictionary, right? Do you find a big business curated old-fashioned dictionary? It's a reasonable community. It's not amazing, but it's pretty good. It's like if you want to read a halfway decent overview about the history of open source, then yeah, South Amsterdam. Yeah, maybe we should open a licensing company in South Amsterdam with a subsidy in the Cayman Islands and route it through some whatnot double Dutch-Irish sandwich thing through Dublin, I guess. Actually, VAT, I don't agree. VAT is VAT is actually a pretty reasonable thing because mostly billionaires cannot evade VAT, right? So unless they buy it in their company, of course, but otherwise, if they buy luxury wallets, Louis Vuitton and other things and a restaurant and stuff, they basically cannot much evade VAT except they pay by the company and then they still first in the VAT is not like some reasonable level of VAT. Also, Germany has one of the lowest VATs in Europe. Germany has VAT of 19%. Many other European countries have 20, 22, 3, 25. So it's on the lower end and like it's not the worst thing. What else do we have here? So many freaking comments. Yeah, I basically need a comment moderator and summarizing assistant. Also, Apple disallows open source work when you're employed by them. Yeah, that might be. I heard some things like this. I usually don't discuss. Like I heard. In general, many big tech companies disallow side works when you work for them. Many big tech companies, Microsoft and Apple, even I think they have paragraphs in their contracts of like everything you work, even at home, while in the time you're employed at them belongs to them. I think, like if you have amazing tech ideas by working at Apple, happy at Apple, yeah, at home, like on your toilet at home or whatnot, and then Apple still pretends they own it. Please switch to non-byte stream. That is too late now. Do they not have? Why do all the websites not have an auto? That is a little bit late now. How many minutes ago was this? Really bright, and I'm sorry. Yeah, it will take like 1 hour to read this. Yeah, maybe not 1 hour, probably 1 hour. So a lot of switch stuff. Phonies making use accent de circumflex is at the wrong place of accent de. Accent de Güte on the second E, please. International naming, so difficult. You can just copy and paste, or better write it without any accent, better than circumflex over. Fair license tax makes Apple pay you money. I don't understand what in the fair license. The fair license is that if we make the next big thing and that's amazing and Apple wants it, they cannot just take it. They need to pay us, right? That is the difference. It's just like it's open source. You can use it for free at home or for other hobby things. But if you use it for commercial things, then you need to pay back, like you would need normally do for work you license and contract. So that is the difference. Apply for the fund because they even freaking, which one? I'm pretty, like the German government tech fund surely did not fund the game, or? Okay, that was the game fund, but, okay, game fund. Maybe we should apply additionally to game fund. Yeah, 25% in Norway, that's good to pay 40%. Gasbelastung, all tax insurance included, like in Germany. So finally, I'm at the bottom of the freaking context. That was like probably in the meantime quite some. Motto Minocto is clear. So from the homepage, I don't understand. Is T2 Linux a tool or distribution, and why is it valuable? T2 is a distribution build kit. Some call it a meta distribution. I mean, I think meta distribution is a little bit. We need better wording. Sorry, I switched to fair license. Why is Wikipedia not also? I need white black. I need to dark theme our website. T2 is a system development environment. Basically, one meta distribution to rule all your CPU and needs. What that means is you can use T2. Like T2 is a package manager. Basically, probably we should change, like after 25 years experience, we probably should change the wording. Probably what we should rename is T2 is a low-code package manager that can build you any software system and is also a Linux distribution. So you can just download it and use it for your desktop and server on all, like it's the one last Linux distribution support to support all and the most Linux CPU architectures, and basically it's basically like apt like RPM and stuff. Yeah, basically I mean the wording, because T2 is just so flexible. It's like basically an IDE, like an integrated development environment, but for whole systems with a reference Linux implementation that you can simply download and use. But so you also otherwise use it for embedded products, like you can use it to develop self-driving cars, space rocket satellites, or other lesser outstanding rocket science tasks like a network router, server firewall, and you can use it for everything, including 8-bit microcontroller development things, which we probably, we need to improve the wording. But that's also a thing, like you need to write the best software, you need to write the best documentation, you need to write the best website, and also do amazing marketing. Imagine how many talented open source developers out there. Yeah, I mean, I'm also only standing on the shoulder of giants, like just all the other Xorg, and imagine X386, and like we are not the only one with funding problems, right? Like all the open source has funding problems, right? And maybe if all the open source, like even, hey, OpenSSL, very little funding. After Heartbleed, they get some funding. Blender bankrupt, then they get at least a little bit foundation things. WordPress, similar things, and like basically everyone of Log4j had no funding, did it as spare time. Open source generally has a funding problem, and stuff like this, right? Yes, okay, fine. So it's a general thing, and like so it's 100,000 people of, and it's also crazy what this adds to the gross GDP, gross product and profit and society, and getting nothing. Like we're not even getting tax credits, like, or at least give out we get nothing, right? We don't get preferred handling anywhere in tax, in insurance, in health insurance, in freaking nothing, right? So not boarding an airplane first, not a free car service, nothing, right? Not even a freaking free MacBook or stuff. Yeah, so I speak for all. Of course, I'm aware that many open source developers do not like fair licensing, for like they cannot steal others people's code and run away with it. And somehow this, in my opinion, in the meantime, brainwash of like it needs to be free and open source, and otherwise it's not so real free and open source. But in the meantime, I don't share this anymore. Like for years, I also like it needs to be true. open source or bust. In the meantime, it's like, no, this is bullshit. People need to earn a living, and just stealing others' code for profit is not fair. And this is trickling up, and we need to change this. So please comment below. India's VAT fed, but 18. What is 18% GST? I don't know what GST is. So grew out of building static images for small hardware official Docker image for it sounds like something good for bootstrapping a dev. Yeah, we probably need to. So I probably do. I have Docker stuff. I probably. Yeah, open source. There needs to be something like there needs to be more fair licensing, more government fund, or I'm not even like this is government funding. So I take this back. I agree that probably most government funding mostly leads to corruption and Vetternwirtschaft. So yeah, it's better not to have like the government should not manage all our open source and others' life. We need to organize this ourselves, as we can anyway not work for governments to do whatever. Although basic income would be amazing. I'm actually also supporting basic income, not only for open source developers. Like imagine how much fairer everyone would get basic income. Everyone, no matter. But I would actually Vetternwirtschaft, like this is, what is this, nepotism. Basic income is actually not a quite good thing, because there are so many other people of great artists and musicians and stuff, especially musicians struggling everywhere and stuff. And actually, you know what, why not some basic income that is enough to get by? I mean, there's anyway child support and other social support stuff. And then in many countries, especially Germany, quite a lot of misuse of people getting government support and still doing a lot of moonlighting. Is it moonlighting? No, not that. Why is this not always on Ukrainian? Although I like that support. Black word, no. Here, black what? Illegal? What? This pretty sure this translates to moonlighting or something. Ah, here, why does it translate one thing here and then says moonlighting here? Hello, are you freaking kidding me? Yeah, AI. What should I say? AI and yeah. Anyway, I would find basic income like also it simplifies government stuff, right? Everyone like no matter how. Kid or not kid or whatnot. Also, like there are so many subsidies, right? Like for schools and this and that. Everyone gets basic income. Even billionaires and millionaires. You see, I'm so fair. Even billionaires can get a basic income, because the thing is, for them it doesn't matter. It's not even a drop in their coffee or tip jar. And for all the other people, it is enormous. Like for musicians, open source developers, it means the world. And it makes everything simpler, like simplifying a government structure with all the unemployment and whatnot. Like no, basic income, and everyone who works gets that on top. Then people can also not whine, but they get their government support. Like so what? Like just go work and get more. An open source developer can feed themselves and their family. Plus we have AI. Like not only did we have the previous industrial automation. Revolution, we have the next AI revolution coming. So much to fair licenses and basic income, right? But fight me down there. Leave me the comments below. That would work in 130 IQ society. So people like you, which one? I mean. I'm actually my IQ is like my IQ is probably only tech IQ. If you do you talk about me or households we in this household we compete daily? To you know you always need to use a word or more subject or noun more object and subject makes sentences much more beautiful and understandable, because now I don't know, do you talk to me or someone else in the chat? If you talk to me, basic income would work in any case amazingly. So not only does it reduce government administrative overhead stuff for administrating all the unemployment and other social and things. So huge bureaucratic decrease and reform, and additionally, increasingly improve already the situation with artists and all the other creative people and open source developers. And also, it would also dramatically solve in Germany. We have a huge misuse of people getting state support and cashing in enormously in moonlighting. I hear this extremely often, so I'm not fantasizing this. Of course, it is a probably maybe even right-wing or whatnot. So you see, I'm not even left socialized. It's probably a right-wing extremist talking point and stuff. But I see this daily. I see and hear this daily. I'm not closing my eyes. I'm not naive. The amount of moonlighting in Germany, like I don't do this because I do open source for free and run a GmbH. But like the amount of moonlighting in Germany is out of another world. And like, so basically, I mean, there would still be moonlighting, but at least then everyone gets basic income and not my neighbors moonlight. My neighbors get state support and moonlight their Porsche together. At least I would also get basic income. So, I mean, I know firsthand people who have fancy things on, like, yeah, but don't send me the police again. And I know nothing. I've not seen, like, I'm not, what is that called? I'm not writing any other people. I'm only stating the facts, right? It's a fact. So like, don't send the swatting police to me, and like, don't question with like, it's like, just open your eyes and go down the street, right? Or to your next hairdresser and restaurant. GST, goods and service tax in Germany included in VAT. In India we have, you have this separately. So I mean, 5 and 18 together is actually higher then. So we have only one, and by the way, before you scream about all your VAT in Germany, we have 2 separate VATs, like in some other countries. We have the reduced VAT for some things of food and whatnot, right? Of what is it, 9% right now? Was it 1.79? Oh, whatever, German, like one quick sec, German. Yeah, I don't even. What is the reduced? The reduced is reduced of 7. 7. Oh no, wait. Is it even? Changes. Wait, this is confusing. Plus to some food stuff, books, cultural services, hotel. I mean, hotel. Look, this is bullshit. This is hilarious. Greetings to the relevant politicians who introduced that nonsense. Medical and dental care, German 0. I mean, this is also like seriously medical. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, having a reduced VAT for some basic normal food things is actually also pretty reasonable concept, if you ask me. Anyway, so we digress. Go there, do some fair licensing, or do, I don't know, make the world a better place and peace and you all. You're currently working also as a developer. Well, I'm overworking as a developer manager and stuff. I'm Geschäftsführer meiner eigenen GmbH. I'm basically a managing director of my own freaking company too. But the thing is also, I funded my company for open source, and because we make so little money with open source, we went into commercial products. That is why do we have this strange commercial, mostly Mac, and also theoretically a little bit Windows and Linux products here for paperless office stuff, because like that is literally the only thing, like, but go figure. Another circle, full circle, another argument coming full circle. People pay me good money for this stuff, right? And so much too. Companies would not, this is the argument, companies would not pay, like, but why do companies pay for everything else? Why do they pay for their buildings, for their cars, for their other software and stuff, right? Because they have to, like, and they even, like, if companies what could scan software, especially for macOS, like if you have the only good scan software for macOS, then companies buy that, and then you have actually money to spend on your open source hobby, because nobody pays for your open source hobby. wait until you find out this tax system in the Philippines. Tell me more. Leave me in the comments below. So good. I guess that's as usually longer as the usual stuff. Like, yeah, if you previously the comment section was long, no, it's longer. If you live stream on Twitch and YouTube, then you have twice the chat. Imagine Rene can do his 24/7 get basic income donation would be so much further. Yeah, I wouldn't develop half of the day commercial software. You should be happy that insurance companies don't have health insurance for open source maintainers would make it even more expensive than urged because they high incidence of burnout. Basically Gentoo, but no, this is not Gentoo. Basically Gentoo, but lower code, more readable, more CPU architectures, more cross-compiling and stuff, and no Python. You want to apply for Burley Geld? Okay. I think they should basic income different. I think they should. Then I have a bloody pin thing. Can you go away that I can read these words? Basically, Steuervorauszahlung from. I think they should basic income differently to the voters. It is basically Steuervorauszahlung from. That's an interesting idea. I mean, you could do all kinds of. I mean, even together with in Germany we have this, what is it, Umweltbonusgeld, like some environmental, environmental tax credit things. Like, imagine big tech and oil would need to pay the citizens for environmental pollution stuff plus basic income. You could actually make a comfortable living of. People there want the 90s IT back. That is amazing. Do you mean it? Because I kind of sort of sometimes want. So that's amazing. That was enough for today. Let's roll the outro. I hope you enjoyed this, learned something. Leave them in the comments below what you think even later, because we usually read them, and also other people can contribute to the discussion. And also later, years to come, and then we see if we make this experiment for our next software to license it fairly, what happens out of this. That's it for today. Thank you all for tuning in. Leave me in the comments. Also, leave me below, how do you like this dual Twitch YouTube experiment, which I mostly wanted to do for this wider, more important, everyone challenging topic. That's it for tonight. Have a good one and see you next time.
Built on shifting sands. Through exploits and 0 days, their war is fought. The future's their mission, the world they've caught. They're the guardian of the grid, the one unseen, a warrior of the bite, swift and keen. With T2 Linux, the power they wield against the chaos, they're the unbroken shield. From the shadows they strike, a specter of light, InfoSec's agent, defender of the night. Every keystroke's a promise, every hack is a fight. Every system they save brings wrong to right. In a world of deception, they hold the key. The truth is their weapon, and their aim is free. They're the guardian of the grid, the one unseen, a warrior of the bite, swift and keen. With T2 Linux, the power they wield against the chaos, they're the unbroken shield. From the shadows they strike, a specter of light, InfoSec's agent, defender of the night. The code is their compass, the world their domain. Silent and nameless, yet they remain. A hero of cyberspace, in shadows they roam. For the digital world,